Have you ever dreamed of winning big on a game show? Well, this is the story of an ordinary ice cream truck driver who did just that, winning over $100,000 in a way that left everyone speechless. It was a record-breaking win, and it made people wonder, was it just dumb luck, or did he somehow cheat the system? Our story begins in 1984 with a man named Michael Larson. Michael was obsessed with a popular TV show called Press Your Luck. He loved it so much that he drove for 3 days straight just for a shot at getting on. The crazy part, no one had actually invited him to audition. When he arrived, he saw that one of the scheduled contestants hadn't shown up. Thinking fast, Michael tried to charm the producer, Bill, even bringing him a hand-painted plate with the show's mascot on it. Michael was a simple guy. He repaired air conditioners and drove an ice cream truck to make ends meet. He cleverly slid into the empty spot left by the missing contestant. But during the audition, a staff member named Sylvia noticed something off. Michael had written down a fake name. The truth came out. He had lied his way into the audition. Unsurprisingly, he was immediately kicked out. But that's not where the story ends. The producer, Bill, felt a little sorry for him. He actually liked Michael's personality. He was a bit goofy, humble, and really entertaining. Bill thought to himself, this guy could make the show more interesting. Audiences love an underdog story. A poor guy winning big is great TV. The casting director, Chuck, completely disagreed. He argued he won't fit in. Just as Bill was about to move on, he heard a strange noise outside. He looked out the window and saw Michael's old, beat-up ice cream truck. It had broken down right in front of the studio. Seeing this, Bill was struck by the man's sheer determination. He ran outside and shouted, "Come back tomorrow dressed well and clean-shaven. You're in the show." Michael was ecstatic. He couldn't believe his luck. But there was a small problem. He had nowhere to stay and no decent clothes to wear. So he went to a cheap store to buy a new jacket. Being the clever guy he was, he purposely broke off a button, showed it to the cashier, and demanded a discount for the damaged jacket. After paying the lower price, he simply sewed the button back on himself. The next morning, Sylvia gave Michael and the other contestants a tour of the studio. Michael was a bundle of nerves and excitement. When he tried to sneak a peek backstage, Sylvia quickly stopped him. All the contestants were then led to a room to watch the show until it was their turn. Finally, Sylvia called Michael and 2 other players backstage. They met the host, Peter, and the show's mascot. Once they were seated on stage, the cameras started rolling and the audience applauded. Peter chatted with them, cracking a few jokes to lighten the mood. Nervous but smiling, Michael shared his story. He told everyone he was an ice cream truck driver who had traveled 3,000 kilometers just to be there. He said if he won, he'd take his family on a long overdue vacation. His awkward charm worked. The audience laughed and seemed to genuinely like him. Up in the control room, Bill was watching the monitors. He saw how the crowd was reacting and thought, good thing I chose him, even though Chuck said no. Peter then explained the rules. He'd ask a question, and the first person to buzz in got to answer. Correct answers earned points, which they could use later to spin for prizes on the big board. The game started. One contestant, Jenny, got the first question right. Then another contestant, Ed, answered the third one correctly. Finally, Michael buzzed in and got one right, too. During a commercial break, Michael tried to make a quick phone call, but Sylvia stopped him again. When they came back from the break, Peter turned their chairs to face the massive game board. It was covered in flashing lights and prizes. The moment Michael saw that board, his eyes lit up. It was as if this was the moment he had been preparing for his entire life. The host explained that the board had 18 squares, each hiding a prize. When a player hit the button, the lights would randomly stop on a square, and they'd win whatever was inside. But if the light landed on the show's mascot, they'd lose everything they'd earned. It was Michael's turn. He spun twice. The first spin won him $2,000. The second gave him $500 and a free spin. But when he used that free spin, the light landed on the mascot. He lost all his winnings in an instant. Frustrated, he cursed under his breath. This was a family show, so the production team wasn't happy. They decided to stop and reshoot his reaction. In the control room, Bill started to panic. He thought, "If he messes up again, everyone's going to blame me for bringing him here." Michael apologized for his outburst and got ready to continue. Both contestants had won $4,000 each. But during that time, Michael wasn't just resting. He was studying the board, memorizing every flicker of light. When the game resumed, it was his turn. And this time, something was different. He pressed the button with uncanny precision. First, he landed on $4,000, then $9,000, then $13,000. In a flash, he'd racked up nearly $120,000 and earned another spin. The production team was thrilled, and even the host, Bill, was beaming with pride. But then, Michael did something no one expected. He refused to stop. In the control room, panic started to set in. No contestant had ever gone beyond 6 wins. Their predictive models were useless. Every time he spun, he landed on cash and an extra spin. The producer, Peter, pleaded with him through the host, "Take a break, man. Don't risk losing it all." But Michael just smiled, ignoring the advice. He kept spinning again and again until he hit $28,000 in a single round, shattering the show's all-time record. The audience was going wild, chanting his name, but the crew smelled a rat. How could anyone be this lucky? Bill called a commercial break and pulled Peter into his office. Something was seriously wrong. While makeup artists touched up the contestants, Michael, full of confidence, flirted with one of them, asking her on a date. She just laughed it off. In the office, the team agreed that this wasn't just luck. Peter decided to try a new tactic: scare him. When the show returned, Peter looked Michael in the eye and said, "You've been incredibly lucky today. You should take the money and go. Don't get overconfident." But Michael just grinned and replied, "Nothing's gonna happen." That sent a chill down Bill's spine. "What does he know that we don't?" he muttered. He turned to his assistant, Chuck, and ordered, "Get me everything you can find on this guy before the next break." Chuck scrambled to Michael's application form. It was almost empty, with just a phone number written on it. He dialed it, and to his shock, it was the show's own front desk number. This guy was a ghost. Chuck then pulled Michael's audition tape and remembered a crucial detail: his ice cream truck. He raced to the parking lot, found the truck, and with a security guard's help, pried the door open. Inside, he found a treasure trove of fake IDs, licenses, and a stack of videotapes. Meanwhile, back in the studio, Michael's winnings had soared past $40,000. The team was in full-blown panic mode, but without any hard evidence, they couldn't stop the game. By the time Michael crossed the $100,000 mark, Peter called another break, buying them more time. Just then, Chuck burst back into the office, holding the documents from the truck. He spotted a business card for a man named Lyle Roberts. Thinking fast, Chuck called the number, pretending to be a court clerk. He asked Lyle about a restraining order filed against Michael. Lyle confirmed it, explaining that Michael had once run a pyramid scheme, duping people with fake investment plans. Realizing he wasn't talking to a real clerk, Lyle hung up. Chuck then turned his attention to the videotapes. At first, they looked like innocent home movies of Michael's wife and daughter. But then he saw it. The tapes also contained old episodes of Press Your Luck. As he watched, the horrifying truth dawned on him. Michael had been recording the show for months, studying it, memorizing the light patterns. Back in the control room, Chuck watched the live feed. He saw Michael pressing the button with perfect timing, his eyes moving in a specific rhythm. He even noticed a faint smile appear on Michael's face a split second before a big win. He rewound the footage in slow motion and showed the team. They were speechless. How could anyone memorize that many patterns? It was Bill who finally broke the silence. "The lights, they aren't random," he admitted. "There are only 5 patterns. If someone studied the show long enough, they could learn them. Everyone stared in disbelief. Michael hadn't just gotten lucky, he had cracked the code. During the next break, Sylvia, the production assistant, handed out branded T-shirts to the other two contestants as a sort of apology for their lack of airtime. While she was distracted, Michael slipped away. He made another call home. This time, his wife answered, but she was furious. She unloaded on him for being an irresponsible husband and father. Still, she let him wish their daughter a happy birthday before the bell rang, signaling the end of the break. As he hung up and turned around, he found himself face to face with the show's mascot, just standing there staring at him. The producers were now desperate. Memorizing patterns wasn't technically illegal, so they couldn't just disqualify him. They needed a new plan. That's when Peter remembered the home player spin rule. An idea was born. When the show came back, Peter made a grand announcement. For the first time in the show's history, they were going into overtime. He then introduced the home player spin, explaining that the next prize Michael won would also be awarded to a random viewer at home. He handed Michael a card with the viewer's name. Michael opened it, and his face went pale. The name on the card was Lyle Roberts. The team had deliberately planted the name to throw him off. Shaken but determined, Michael took his spin. He won a luxury trip to Hawaii, and Peter cheerfully announced that Lyle Roberts would be going to Hawaii too. On the next spin, the team took it a step further. They flashed a bright stage light directly into Michael's eyes, making him blink. He hit the button accidentally, and still won. "Hey!" he shouted. "Don't shine that light in my face!" Another break was called. This time, the network CEO stormed into the studio, livid. "You only programmed 5 patterns into this game? Who let this man on the show?" he roared. Panicking, Bill pointed his finger straight at Chuck. It was him. He approved the application. Meanwhile, the other contestant, Jenny, was having a meltdown, accusing Sylvia and the show of cheating. "You're all in on it. How's he allowed to make phone calls?" Michael, now paranoid, confided in the third contestant, Ed, that the show was messing with him. But his anxiety was making even Ed suspicious. Michael started pacing, then realized his phone was gone. Chuck appeared at his side. "Who were you calling, Michael?" he asked quietly. That was the last straw. Michael panicked and bolted out of the studio. He ran to his truck only to find the lock broken. He frantically asked a security guard what happened, but the guard said nothing. Then a police officer approached. "Officer, someone broke into my truck," Michael exclaimed, but the cop cut him off. "I was called here by the studio." Michael looked around and saw police officers everywhere. He was cornered. With nowhere left to run, he wandered back towards the studio, accidentally walking onto the set of a different show. The host, thinking he was a guest, started interviewing him. Michael, looking into the camera, said, "I just want to have breakfast with my family. If I'm on TV, maybe they'll see me." Back in the production room, Chuck was reeling from Bill's betrayal. But an operator pointed out that the audience absolutely loved Michael. He was a hero to them. The CEO's eyes lit up. "Promote this episode," he declared. "Call it America's Luckiest Man." The show resumed. Michael kept winning. Chuck, heartbroken, sat at his desk and quietly picked up the phone he'd taken from Michael. He redialed the last number. In the studio, Michael had just crossed $100,000. A life-changing sum. Suddenly, Peter announced, "Michael, we have a special call for you." It was Chuck. He had patched Michael's wife through, live on air. "I'm done with your nonsense, Michael," she screamed. "Sign the divorce papers." Then she hung up. The entire studio fell silent. Michael stood there, completely devastated. As the show cut to another break, he quietly walked off the set. The producers were in chaos. The sound tech revealed he'd gotten a note signed by Bill authorizing the call. It was Chuck E.S. Quiet Revenge. Bill rushed to find Michael. "We know what you've done," he said, "but if you want the money, you have to finish the game. Don't waste this chance." Michael agreed, but on one condition: one last call to his wife. When she answered, he found he couldn't speak. He hung up and returned to the stage. For his next spin, he generously gave it to Ed. The audience roared with applause, but Bill, watching from the wings, smashed a gift Michael had given him earlier. Finally, it was Michael's last spin. He closed his eyes and pressed the button one last time. 2 weeks later, Michael's family gathered to watch the episode. When Michael's face appeared, Lyle angrily switched off the TV. But after he left, Michael's wife turned it back on, just in time to see the final spin. Michael had won it all. Can you believe this? Peter, the show's host, asked Michael, "Sir, what on earth are you going to do with all this money?" And Michael, cool as a cucumber, just said, "I don't know. This isn't some made-up tale. This really happened." After Michael's incredible run, the network completely changed the game. They added 27 new puzzle patterns and, get this, capped the winnings at $75,000 for anyone who came after him. But Michael? He walked away with the grand prize, a true once-in-a-lifetime jackpot. So, I have to ask you, what do you think about what Michael did? Was he a genius who outsmarted the system, or was it just unfair? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to see what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.